Hello students and welcome back. Hope you have already understood the concepts that we have discussed in the last two videos about decision making. And today's video will be about the process of decision making. What is the rational decision making process? What are the assumptions of this process? And what do we understand by the concept of bounded rationality? So to begin with, we'll be discussing the rational decision-making process, the process uh, which any one of us should follow while making a decision for the organizations or for making a decision for ourselves. The very first step in the process is identification of the problem, identifying the problem, or it may be written down as defining the problem. Now, this is a very important step because this is where we are beginning with. This is where we are starting with the decision making process. The identification of problem or the defining of problem means that you must be clear that what is it that you want to solve, what is it that you want to decide about. If the problem is not clear, the solution will not be correct. So it is very important to know the right question in order to have the right answer. So herein we are basically framing out our question, that what is it that we want to solve? What is it for which we want to take decision? What is the actual problem? What is the underlying problem that we are facing so that we can decide upon accordingly? Say for example, in our organization, maybe a manager feels that the productivity levels are falling down. Now, this is something which is on the outskirts that you are seeing that your productivity is falling down. But what is the actual problem? This is the symptom that is being shown that the productivity is falling. Why is it falling is to be known before going into the decision making process. The productivity may be falling down because your employees are not interested in that work, they are not enjoying their work, maybe they are having problems with their peers, maybe they are having problems with their co-workers, maybe they are not able to adjust in the environment, maybe there is a problem in machinery, maybe there is some problem in the process of manufacturing the product. So there can be various underlying reasons. If we do not identify the correct underlying reason, the solution that we'll be finding out will not be the correct one. Say for example, if in the hypothetical situation that we have taken, the actual underlying problem is that the workers are having tussle in between them. They are not going very well with their co-workers. They are not enjoying working with their co-workers because they have some ego clashes amongst themselves, due to which their teamwork is not good and the productivity is falling down. Now, this is the real problem. But the manager might just not look into all these things and just think of that maybe machinery is the problem or process is the problem, and he or she starts finding solution to that. Now the problem here is that the solution that you will get will still not lead to an increase in production. Why? Because you have found a solution to a wrong question. Your question identification was wrong. That is why your solution is also wrong. So identification of problem or defining the problem is very important. The second step is analyzing the problem. Once we know that what the problem is, then start gathering the information about it. Now, how you have to gather the information or how you have to classify the data will depend on various things, such as what is the kind of decision that we are taking. We discussed the types of decisions in the last video, whether it's a programmed decision or a non-programmed decision, whether it is a routine decision or not. Is it a strategic decision that we need to take for this particular problem? So you will have to identify the nature of decision. You will also have to identify the duration or the time of the decision, that whether it is going to be a long-term decision, it is going to be a short-term decision, it is going to be a medium-term decision, because all these things will impact the kind of data that you are collecting in. Similarly, you will also have to look into that what is the impact, the future impact of the decision that you are going to take. who all will be involved in this decision making, who all will be impacted by this decision making. If say in our organization we are having say 5 departments and there are 2 departments which are going to be impacted by our decision, then it is important to involve these 2 departments in your decision making process. So it is important to understand that what is the future impact of the decision that you are going to take, so that you can analyze the problem effectively. Then comes the searching of alternatives or development of alternatives. We now, till the first and second step, we are aware what is it that we are wanting to decide about, what is our problem situation. We have already gathered a lot of information about it. Now we are searching for the alternatives, that what are the different courses of action that we can take and do. Because if you remember, when we were discussing the concept of decision making, we said that it is to choose the best alternative out of the various alternatives available. So decision making comes into play only when a lot of alternatives are available. So herein we are searching for those alternatives. What are the various ways through which we can solve out the problem? Say for example, if an organization has identified its problem as that they want to increase their sales, right? They want to have more profit making, they want to increase their sales. So how they can go about it? Now there can be various alternatives of increasing their sales. Either they can dig deeper into the existing markets which they are having, which we call as market penetration. So in the same market, they can go in for more rigorous selling of their products, or they can explore new markets in order to increase their sales. They can do it with the same product which is there available right now in the market. They can develop a new product and then increase the sales, or they might, just bring out some variants of their product and increase the sales. So there are various alternatives available, and in this third step, we basically have to search out for all the kind of alternatives, all the kind of alternative solutions that we can have to our problem. Next step is evaluation of these alternatives. So in the last step, we have only listed down the alternatives, that all these are the things that we can do. Now, because we can only choose out one alternative out of this, or we have to choose out one best alternative out of this, we need to weigh out these all alternatives. We need to see that what kind of the alternatives that we have taken till now, the alternatives that we have listed till now, how they are going to work. What are the pros and cons? What are the risks involved with these particular alternatives that you are having? What are the resources that these alternatives will be requiring? So based on the quantitative and the qualitative data, we try to evaluate each and every alternative that we have listed down in the last step. This evaluation of alternatives is generally based on forecasting technique, or the estimates that we are making out, because you are talking about future. So you cannot be certain about how things are going to work out, especially if you are talking about the non-programmed decisions, as we discussed in the last video. You are not aware of all the kind of environmental scenarios which might creep in. So you are just forecasting things. You are just estimating that this can be the probable scenario. And on the basis of those probable scenarios, you are evaluating your alternatives. Once you have evaluated all your alternatives, now you know that which alternative has more risk, which alternative has less risk, for which particular alternative you already have resources, or for which alternative you will be requiring more resources. Can you get those resources or not? All these things have been seen. So on the basis of that evaluation, now you will select out the best alternative for your problem that was identified in the first step. Once this selection has been done, so now you were aware of your problem, now you have decided upon what do you want to do, what is the final course of action that you want to do. So the last step is the implementation part, wherein we as managers, or we as the people, as the decision makers, will tell our decision to the others, to all those people who are going to be impacted by this decision, or those who are going to actually put it into practice, put it into implementation. This is again a very important step, because if you do not if the decision does not get implemented properly, all the exercise that you have done before this will go waste. So you might have chosen out a very good alternative on the basis of decision making process, but you might not have been able to communicate it very nicely in the implementation part, or very clearly in the implementation part. So the implementation will go wrong. If the implementation goes wrong, the entire procedure that you were looking into will go haywire and will go waste. So it is very important that whatever idea was there in your mind while making a decision, while choosing out the alternative, it should be very clearly put forth to the people who are going to implement that particular decision, so that the implementation does not go wrong. So these were the steps: identification of the problem or defining the problem, then analyzing of problem, wherein we collect the information, then searching for various alternatives, which can be various courses of action that you can take out, then evaluation of all those alternatives, the pros and cons, the plus and minuses of all the alternatives. On the basis of this evaluation, we choose out the best alternative, and then we implement that particular alternative, or we implement that particular decision. This is a rational decision making process which we expect that everyone should take care of, or everyone should follow while making a decision. Now, this particular process that we have discussed till now has certain assumptions. The first assumption is that the decision maker, the one who is making the decision, intends to maximize the economic gains. So we are assuming that anyone who is taking a decision will be trying to maximize the gains out of that particular decision. That is the first assumption. The second assumption is that the decision maker is fully objective and rational. That means there is no subjectivity that will creep in. So biasness will not creep in. Whatever I am thinking or whatever I am deciding is totally based on the information that has been gathered. Now, the third assumption of this model is that full information about the various alternatives is available, which means that all possible alternatives that can be there, right, for a particular problem as a solution are available to me, are known to me. Next is alternatives can be evaluated intellectually or intelligently, which means I am intellectual enough as a decision maker to weigh out the pros and cons of each and every alternative, and all the alternatives are known to me. So the full information availability is one of the basic assumptions of this particular model. And the last assumption is that the person who is taking a decision, the decision maker, has full authority, has full freedom to choose out the best possible alternative. Now, when we look at these assumptions, if you think about all these assumptions carefully, you would get to know that actually almost any of this assumption is not realistic. If you just remove out these assumptions, you cannot fulfill the rational economic model, the rational decision making model. Why? Say for example, one of the assumptions that we talked about is that you have full information about all the alternatives. And this may not be true. Actually, in real circumstances, we might not be having the entire information about all the resources, about all the alternatives. There might be certain alternatives which we might just miss out. Or there might be certain alternatives which we are not aware of. So which means because I am not fully aware of all the alternatives, I am skipping out on evaluation of those alternatives which I am not aware of. So my rational decision making model is not working. Right? I am not into that rational decision making process because therein I had to search for all the alternatives. Similarly, it says you should be able to weigh out the pros and cons, or you should be having full information about all the alternatives so that you can evaluate them intelligently. Again, there is a problem over here. I might have listed down all the alternatives which are possible, but I might not be having enough information to evaluate them correctly. I might be having certain lack of information. It can be because of n number of reasons. You are having lack of information because you had less time to collect the information, you are not having enough resources to collect all the information, human limitations are there, time limitations are there, cost constraints are there. Most of all, the information actually might not be available fully, so that you can gather it, because you're talking about a future decision making process. So all these assumptions that we have talked about are actually not feasible, right? So on the basis of this, on the basis of these assumptions, and define these assumptions that this is not possible, this is practically infeasible to cater to all these assumptions and then take a decision, there was another model which was proposed by Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon proposed the model of bounded rationality. Right? This is the next topic that we are now moving on to, bounded rationality in decision making, which was given by Herbert Simon. Now, Herbert Simon said that as all these assumptions cannot be met out, it means that the rational decision making process that you are talking about might actually not be feasible, or might not actually be possible in making out the decisions. So the concept of bounded rationality says that whatever decision you will take to a particular problem has to be rational. We cannot go irrational. I cannot choose out an alternative which is actually going to take me into losses, right? If I do that, I'm not a good decision maker. So as a decision maker, I have to be rational enough. I have to choose out an option which leads me into profits, or which gives me gains. But it has to be within certain boundaries. That is why he named it as bounded rationality. So being rational within certain boundaries. What are these boundaries? As we said, there are human limitations, right? There is limited information that is available. So he said that the option that you will be choosing out, the alternative that you will be choosing out, will be within this vicinity of bounded rationality, which means that whatever options you are aware of, whatever options you have known till now, whatever information you are having till now, on the basis of that, you will choose out a best solution. Now, he said that when we are choosing out this best solution only on the basis of limited information that we are having, we say that we find out a satisfying solution as compared to an optimizing solution. ऑप्टिमम सॉल्यूशन क्या है कि इससे बेटर कुछ नहीं हो सकता. दिस इज द ऑप्टिमम लेवल ऑफ गेन दैट यू हैव रीच्ड. So when we were talking about the decision making process, the rational decision making process, the evaluation of alternatives led us to choosing an alternative which was the best possible decision. It was an optimum decision that we were taking. But Herbert Simon, through bounded rationality, is proposing that you rather, as a human being, choose out a satisfying decision which is satisfactory enough, which is helping you to meet out the objectives, which is helping you to find a solution to the problem that you had defined earlier in a satisfactory manner, but it might not be an optimum solution, because for finding out an optimum solution, you will have to search for all the alternatives, you will have to evaluate all the alternatives, which is a very tedious process, and at all points of time, it might not be feasible for a human being to take a decision on the basis of all the alternatives and gathering all the information, because we might not be able to process that much information. So we settle down for a satisfying solution as compared to an optimizing solution under the bounded rationality